It is not possible for an artist to be a success because once you've called yourself or think of yourself as a success, you're finished. This is a quote, it's not verbatim, from an interview between James Baldwin and Maya Angelou, where they discuss the nature of blackness. This afternoon, I all day actually, I've been riding around with my son, and our experiences today have been a conversation on blackness, what it means to belong, what it means to have your belonging threatened. And I think about this idea that in addition, phone's trying to ring, in addition to the ups and downs of life and our lives. My sons and I have had many ups and downs. Yesterday and the day before's experiences with my shipping containers have only magnified this feeling of being a walking tragedy, whilst at the same time being a source of fascination, even a hero in the minds of people at home. My cousin once told me that his daughter thinks I'm the most amazing person in the world. I'm her inspiration. I've hardly met his daughter. He's referring to my life in Facebook posts. And what's interesting is I'm a sporadic Facebook poster. I'm a sporadic poster. This recording a video every day for however long I do this is probably the first time that I've done something on a roll in this manner or fashion. So the idea that I could make such an impression on this little black girl in Texas, I kind of disregarded it because it didn't make much sense to me. But then I'm thinking about some of the things that James Baldwin said in this talk with Maya Angelou of how he was from Harlem, James Baldwin, and his family was poor. And in the summer, they sold ice. In the winter, they sold coal. It was just the constant hustle to survive. And I mean hustle in the positive. There's several layers of hustle. And yet, with the poverty, the food stamps, and just the constant grind and hustle culture that they were living in to stay afloat and survive, this eldest of nine children, James Baldwin, my favorite author, one of the most celebrated Black authors or authors in history, received a check that they'd scraped together from pennies, ice, and coal, a check of $150 in Paris in the 1940s and 50s. That's a lot of money. How do poor people come up with that much money to support the artist in the family? And it really made me think because nobody's life is necessarily easy when it comes to poverty and living in a state of imbalance and injustice. But this celebration of the power of words and what it was that he was doing, it's absolutely beautiful. So the idea that no artist can be a success because once you consider yourself a success, it's all over. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And on the other side, the people who it really matters for thinking that you're a success, the little black girl in Texas, the loving mother and 8 siblings in Harlem, they can think you're a success all the time. We don't need to think it for ourselves. And we also don't need to judge ourselves harshly for the internalized perception that our lives as creatives are indulgence. I know a lot of white artists. I live in Europe. I know a lot of people who make art for art's sake. I've never really been able to make art for art's sake. There's always been a point that I wanted to illustrate. My own voice has never been anything that I think anyone necessarily needs to hear. The exaltation of self is nothing that ever comes to mind. The idea of picking up a piece of paper and writing without something to say is a concept to me which is repugnant on many levels. And there's an aspect of this repugnance that's noble, and there's an aspect of this repugnance that's detrimental and dangerous to my own well-being. In the dangerous, the negative of it, I used to write morning pages. My problem with the morning pages was it's a waste of paper, and mostly what I'm doing is clearing my head, freeing my mind of toxic thoughts. At the same time, every scratch of pen and ink on paper has me frustrated as well as exalted and liberated. Each stroke that the pen makes is a reminder for me of the sacrifice of the tree, of the processes that this paper had to go to, the hands, the labor. And it might seem like a cheap little notebook that I got for 80 cents at the stationery store, but this was the life of a tree. This was the energy of a human. These were the chemicals that have come to us through thousands of years, helping the light of the sun bleach this page so that I can write on it. And I'm writing fears and resentments. I'm writing frustrations. And does that piece of paper really deserve that? Just so that I can express myself? Me, this person who has the privilege of holding an American passport, lives in Europe, has multiple degrees. And so when I think of the other things that come from my hand, I think of some years ago, I don't know why exactly it happened, but Black History Month was not officially celebrated by the city of Berlin. This hibernation came to an end, and somehow I was one of the 3 artists asked to showcase for Black History Month at America House in Berlin, Germany. The 2 other artists were Black males from the African diaspora, and then there was me. And I always feel like I don't have so much to say. That's partially what's so difficult about doing these daily videos is I know this is virtual sound, but it's stored somewhere. Don't lie to yourself by thinking that there's some cloud that's just holding it. Even if a cloud holds precipitation in the air and you don't feel it, it's still being held. It's still going to drop on you. It's still going to drop on this planet. It's going to drop on the earth. It's going to become the water that you drink. The idea of something holding something in a cloud means it doesn't exist. These words that I put out here, they exist. So the idea of simply speaking and expressing has been something that I've been rather parsimonious with my entire life. And that's not solely down to insecurity. If anything, it's a certain confidence about what I say and that it's okay that there's not a great quantity of it recorded. So I was surprised that the organizers of Black History Month, first off, even knew who I was, second, knew anything about what I was doing, and third, knew how to reach me. And so the installation was being set up, and the male artists were working with what we would maybe, unfortunately, generally consider to be what Black artists make. And we all had to speak, and I was terrified of speaking, but I did so. I get up there and I start having my conversation about my work. And I'm surprised at the end of, I think, the 15 or 20 minutes. I had made a point that I was going to look around the room the entire time, try to engage with different people's eyes, and just really have a whole feeling of presence and unity with the audience. And, you know, I never would have thought that a bunch of strangers who had never heard of me before that night would stand to rapt attention, listening to me. And I don't think I slighted the other artists at all. Yet, at the end of my talk and the end of the evening after we finished the tour and the other presentations, I was often mobbed by young Black women, older Black women, and older Black men. There weren't so many young Black boys there, unfortunately. My sons were there, though, and I'm always mobbed by them. And the thing that people kept saying to me was, thank you so much for reminding them that we think. We have thought forever, we've written forever. And I was like, how did they get that from what I said? How can so few words and images that were related to my storytelling project, which wasn't, I didn't write the story. I was just a, a scribe with a concept of creating some kind of unity and conversation through storytelling. I was not original. Everything that I do is based on a historical continuum. And yet, somehow, what I achieved was something highly individualistic. But the point was heard. I do want to remind everyone of all of the facets of who we are as Black people, and that Black women can not only raise children for hundreds of years in America who we would nurse at our breasts, nurture, care for, and raise, knowing that at some point these would be the same people to rape, abuse, and murder our children. We built a nation. And the continuum of that is that I carry all of these voices within me of these histories. We have been knowledge builders. We have created movements. we have brought systems of racial injustice to a close. So I can't think about making art for art's sake, about my dreams and my journaling. I can use my writing space to clear my mind of the tensions of racism, sexism, and oppression so that I can create work that when people see it and they hear me speak, they understand this is a voice of Black history, this is a voice of Black women, and this is a continuum. And remember, we think we've created civilizations. Well, thank you for listening. My name's Chandra, and I'm making videos every day. Have a good day. Thank you.